Hello and welcome to Backyard Farmer. I'm Kim Todd and we're glad you could join us for another hour of answering your gardening questions. Give us a call at 1-800-676-5446. Our phone volunteers will be happy to help you out. Emails and pictures for a future show should be addressed to byf@unl.edu. Please tell us where you live, give us as much information as you can so we can give you the best answer. We also have lots of really great video features and past programs on our YouTube channel, a great community of fans on our Facebook page, so we invite you to check those out after the show. We have samples as always now, and Kyle, you have some pinned things.
I do, yeah, I have some Lilac Bores here. So these I brought in because they're going to be emerging here within the next few weeks in much of Nebraska. So these are the adult moths right here. These are day-flying moths, and so they're actually mimicking wasps. And they're important because they bore into ash, lilac, and sometimes privet. Generally speaking, they like to tunnel into smaller ash trees, larger lilac, and when they do that, they can cause weakening of those shrubs or branches, which can lead to breaking during storms. Sometimes smaller trees that are heavily attacked could be killed outright. So generally speaking, like in lilac, these can be they're generally managed with good pruning practices, just overall, good health management practices. Otherwise, if you have a history of problems, you can manage with insecticidal treatments about 10 days after they emerge, which would be in the next few weeks.
All right, and I know a lot of people have a lot of trouble with that, including us on campus.
Yes, sir.
All right, Jeff, what'd you bring?
Well, because it's May Day, this is the May Lily of the Valley Day, so I brought Lily of the Valley. It's just started flowering today. So we get a lot of questions about what to do about underneath our trees, and can I grow grass there? Shouldn't I grow grass there? We talk about mulching. Ground covers are a good option, and this is one that will perform pretty well under most of our trees. I have it growing underneath Ohio Buckeye, and it does really well. Over time, it can kind of spread into the lawn area, and I just control it by mowing it, so I don't get too worried about it. But it does a good job. It's flowering right now. It's pretty, So some things to keep in mind. It's the national flower of Finland. That's one thing you should keep in mind. And then it can be poison, or it is poisonous, so you don't want to, if you have it in water or something like that as a cut flower, you don't want to let your pets drink out of that. So anyway. All
right, excellent. Thank you very much. Kyle, yes, I know you think it's lovely.
It's not the national flower of Finland, though. So, but I was, this time of year, we're out at garden centers picking out beautiful flowers for our annual beds, things like that. And this was, and sometimes when we're out looking at flowers, some of them look great, other times they look not so great. And what we have going on here, this is actually a Botrytis, and so it's a fungus that has come in and is basically attacking the buds and the flowers. Great thing about plants like this, though, is often the garden centers, they'll just want to give them away for free. And all that you need to do is just pluck off this dead tissue. You can plant it, give it a little bit of tender loving care, and chances are it will come back just fine. The ways we try to control Botrytis, at least kind of in our own home settings, is really through moisture management and spacing. So making sure that we have our plants spaced properly apart and we're not overwatering them.
Excellent. All right, Dennis, we know what you brought.
Yeah, so I've been getting a number of calls on bull snakes on trails. Bull snakes are the most common snake in the state. They're a rodent feeder. The only snake with a pointed rostrum or nose, so it's the only snake that can possibly make its own hole. All other snakes use holes of other animals. They'll hiss because they're scared. They'll rattle their tail like all snakes do because they're scared. But they're a constrictor, and they only constrict on things about a pound, so a rat or smaller. They wouldn't go after a cat or anything like that. Maybe a small rabbit. And their teeth are extremely small, so a bite, it's not something you would worry about. I bite first before these guys bite, can't get these guys to bite me ever. But yeah, so their color can be dark or light, like this one, and people have been seeing them on the trails. Just give them some space and let them eat the rodents.
And that is
one of those.
That is a beautiful one. That color is gorgeous.
Yeah, I know. I've only seen, I guess, really dark ones.
Yeah, the dark ones.
Nope. Give them plenty of space, though. I recommend that.
Like Kyle, who is halfway out of the studio by now.
So we'll put them back in your bag.
Now they'll just be crawling around at my feet the rest of the show. It's awesome.
All right. Dennis, do you need some help?
No, I'm
Kyle, hold
hold the
that
bag, maybe?
for him.
It'll go in the bag on its own. See?
Oh, gosh. Or not.
It goes in.
There we go.
It's like winding up a hose
wants
in
to
your,
be in the
in your
bag.
garden.
It feels safer in the bag.
All right. Kyle, on that note, other Kyles, you can sit back down. You have one question or one picture on this first one, Kyle. This is an Omaha viewer. He thought these were dead spruce needles, and they are, but he said they look like they're held together. Is it attached? What is it? And it's yours.
Yeah, so there's webbing in there. This looks like spruce needle miner. So this is really small caterpillars. It's a moth. The small caterpillars, they mine into those needles. They make a small hole at the base, feeding inside of there, and then after they're done, they kind of cut those and then web them together. So they overwinter as nearly mature larvae and then start feeding again in early spring. So right now is about the time that they would be getting close to maturing, pupating, and then we'll see adults here pretty soon. So, if there's sort of seems to be a problem, you can treat these. The timing for that would be in probably about a month or so when those eggs start to hatch. Otherwise, just hand picking, spraying them off with water and then destroying those is usually pretty good in most settings.
All right. Looks an awful lot like bagworms.
It does. Yeah, they're smaller, but yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, you have two pictures on the next one. This is an Omaha viewer, and she walked into a swarm of these little bitty things. They were crawling on her car. She thought they were ticks, and then they're not. 2 millimeters long, fly readily, wings translucent, and faintly brown.
Yeah, elm flea weevils. So fortunately, not ticks. They're totally harmless. They feed on pretty much all elms, but really don't cause any considerable harm to the tree. It's pretty much just cosmetic, so nothing to really be concerned about.
And they're not going to bite her.
No, definitely not.
All right, excellent. All right, Jeff, two pics on the first one here. This is a Sioux City viewer. She says, how does she get rid of this weed? If she digs it up, every little piece of the rhizome grows back. Glyphosate kills the top, but not the root.
Mm-hmm. For this particular plant, and it looks like it is tough, I initially thought it was a fringe quickweed, but I don't think it's that. I think it might be something else. So it would be helpful when it flowers to get a flower from it. That would really help us with the ID. But in the meantime, a lot of weeds are kind of becoming glyphosate resistant. There's some of the new non-selective formulas out there. Take a look at some of the labels. But that might be an ideal sort of experiment, is to try one of those new non-selective mixes to do something like this.
All right.
And again, you can kind of look at a fall application, keeping it under control in the meantime.
All right, thanks, Jeff. You have two pictures on this next one also. This comes to us from Eustis, Cozad area. What is this small plant with 4-petaled blue flowers? It's in the buffalo grass lawn. If it's a good perennial, they want to keep it. Otherwise, how do they get rid of it?
Well, I guess beauty is in the eye of the beholder, right? I mean, it's a blue flower. It's kind of fun.
Right.
It's not a native plant. It's blue mustard. And it can be a bit of a problem. So it may not be one that you want to, while you may allow it to flower, you're not going to want it to set seed. So you may want to control it that way. It can be a bit resistant to herbicides, so this is another one you may want to look at, some sort of either mechanical removal or a different sort of non-selective than the typical glyphosate.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Kyle, we had this actually as a lightning round, but we didn't have pictures, and it was a little hard, and now we do. This is a Bellevue viewer, asparagus coming up twisted.
Yeah.
20-year-old patch. and not insects. What is this?
No, you should.
Yeah.
You're lucky. It only took you 20 years to get some fasciated asparagus, and so that's just basically something went wrong with the growing point. Whether it's caused by a disease, a random mutation, insect feeding, something happened to that growing point that made it just grow weird, kind of a lot wider and twisty. It may show up again. It most likely won't. So just something to be cool. Yeah, something fun in your garden this year.
All right. 2 pictures on the next one, and this is greenhouse tomatoes, I believe, or close. They look like this. Is it sun or is it windburn?
Could be a little bit of both.
Okay.
You know, a lot of things can kind of cause those tomato leaves to turn white. The nice thing is there's no disease problem. So if you are seeing plants like this in your greenhouses, once you get them outside, they should be okay. And also, you'll see that a lot if you take tomatoes outside before they've been hardened off. And so maybe just one of those things, if you're seeing that, maybe make sure that give them a little bit more care at night.
That's a good point, because people are frantic to get their plants purchased and get them out, and you don't just go from in to out.
It's, there's a lot more to gardening than I thought there used to be.
We keep trying to tell people that. All right, Dennis, you have 3 pictures for this first one. This is an Ashland viewer. The scat is on concrete, loaded with seed, and the footprint, this is in a sandy beach area, so there's the print with a ballpoint pen next to it. Within 15 to 20 feet of the scat. He's wondering, is it raccoons? And if it is, do you have any magic to keep them from scavenging in turf? They're not after grubs, they're just wigging and digging.
Yeah, it's definitely a younger raccoon, the print and that type of scat. With raccoons, remember, be careful. They do carry fleas and ticks and rabies, so be extremely careful. The best thing to do is a box or live trap using a marshmallow, because if you use a marshmallow, you won't get the neighborhood cats, and hang it in the trap. So it's a box trap, and they can see the marshmallow hanging from the top, and they can't grab it. It just swings. And then once you get them, call animal control if you're in a municipality, or you can call wildlife rehab. Do not translocate or move a raccoon. That's against the regulations, and it'll be a slow, agonizing death to the raccoon. In some areas, you're allowed to dispatch or properly euthanize the raccoon, but if you can possibly call the proper people to take care of it once it's in the trap. But there are no repellents that work. Your best thing is to remove those individuals.
All right, excellent. You have 1 picture on the next one. This is, she found this pile of scat on her lawn between 2 houses. She wonders who left this gift.
Well, it's pelletized, it's on the surface, so it's not gopher. It's probably a younger deer. With that mount, deer's eating pretty good. Oblong as it is, it definitely looks whitetail, not mule deer. So yeah, without having a scale next to it, I can't tell you for sure, but it's definitely a deer.
All right, excellent. And 1 picture on the next one. Our audience is going to think we've lost our minds, but here we have a bird bath. And this was an Omaha viewer, and he said this pedestal had been knocked off 3 times in a row. He thought it was squirrels gone wild. Then he removed a furniture cover on a bench, and here came a raccoon. Gave him the stink eye. So he's kind of wondering, okay, does he just not put that up there again? Because he was probably getting up there to get a drink, or again, getting rid of the raccoon, I guess.
Live trapping or cage trapping the raccoon and then calling the proper people is your best way. Do not try to handle the cage with the raccoon in it. It's very dangerous for you.
All right, excellent. Thanks very much. Well, tonight we're going to hear from a local nursery owner about the importance of diversity in your tree selection. Heather Beyers of Great Plains Nursery says a good selection of various trees will not only make your home more beautiful, you're also going to benefit from avoiding some of those major problems you hear about on our show.
A healthy home landscape starts with a diverse canopy of trees, shrubs, and perennials. Today we're going to talk about diversity in regards to trees. The first thing to think about in regards to your trees is your large maturing shade trees. Having 1 or 2 nice large maturing shade trees on your property is essential. Those are the trees that provide the most shade, giving energy savings, and also provide stormwater mitigation. They slow down wind, provide protection for your property. You can also consider ornamental trees for your property. Those add a lot of value with beauty, pollinators, a pollinator habitat. Oftentimes you can introduce different berries and lots of great fall color. And fall color is a wonderful addition for any size tree. And it's really fun to mix up the different species in regards to the habitat that you can create, and then all the different interests and textures that you can create for your yard. Diversity of species is essential when it comes to being resilient against insect and disease pressures. If something new moves in, be it, most recently we can remember emerald ash borer, Dutch elm disease, we don't know what's next on the horizon. So by having a well-diverse home landscape and community landscape, it sets yourself up for a much more resilient landscape that can withstand, and you're losing much less of your landscape. So maybe you just lose 1 tree versus losing multiple trees on your property because of having a monoculture of trees. That diversity is really key. Something else to consider when choosing the right trees for your landscape would be focusing on our keystone species. Those are our native plants that have evolved here within our ecoregion and support the most insect and birds within our ecoregion. So things like oaks, choke cherries, black cherries, plums, our native willows. One of my favorites is prairie willow, which offer a smaller size plant. When it comes to choosing new plants for your home landscape, consider diversity with texture, color, and natives. Another thing to consider when choosing new trees for your home landscape is the size of trees that you choose. Young trees in the size range of anywhere from 1 foot up to 5 to 6, 7 feet tall are young trees, often within that 3 to 4 year old range. And those have shown us time and time again that they transplant really well. They can initiate new roots quickly, being a young tree, and that proves to have transplant success and long-term viability and success within our landscape.
If you want to know more about planting trees and buying the right ones, check out all of our tree videos on the Backyard Farmer YouTube channel. Good advice from Heather on that one. All right, 2 pictures, Kyle, on this next one. This comes to us from Amherst, Nebraska. Found these asparagus on his asparagus in a 3-foot area. She doesn't see any bugs crawling around on the spears. She wants to know, should she do anything to keep whatever this is from infecting the whole asparagus bed? Can she just wash them off and eat them?
Yeah, you can wash them off and eat them. So these are the eggs of common asparagus beetles. So right when asparagus emerges, they overwinter as adults. The adults will come out, start feeding and laying eggs here. So that's what's left behind is those eggs. They can sort of cause mostly cosmetic damage to the asparagus as they feed on it, cause it to curl. Generally speaking, hand picking and small plantings can be okay. Just remove those eggs. Take those off. Put any adults that you find into a bucket of soapy water to get rid of them. Otherwise, cultural management also can help reduce numbers. They overwinter in the asparagus. So, cleaning that up once it's dead in the fall or winter will help reduce that overwintering population.
All right, excellent. One picture on the next one. This is a Gretna viewer. They have been blessed with what they think is a swarm of clover mites. They don't have a pesticide contract. They do know they need to caulk. They are wondering about bifenthrin, thyme oil, anything else. What do they do about clover mites?
Yeah, clover mites, they're a big problem this time of year, sometimes in the fall too, but it's very common that they come into homes early spring like this. So, really the best thing I think is just vacuuming these up. It's a relatively short-lived issue. They are plant feeders, they're especially in turf, and, from for whatever reason, population builds up, they wander into homes sometimes. If it's sort of an ongoing issue, you can provide a barrier, about at least a 2-foot barrier between your home and any landscaping, like turf or anything like that. Something like mulch, rocks, that helps prevent those from coming into the house. But otherwise, just vacuuming them up. You can use some double-sided tape around those windowsills where they're coming in to help stop them in their tracks there. If you really want to spray, you could use bifenthrin around the perimeter of the house, outside on the foundation, and maybe out about 10 feet into the turf. I don't generally recommend it unless it's like an extreme case, because it's not the most effective.
All right, excellent. One picture on the next one. This is a Lincoln viewer. He said these little guys are coming into the basement from outside, and they die when it's not moist. Sprays don't kill them. What are they? And
it's a roly-poly, pill bug or sow bug here. Yeah, they're terrestrial crustaceans. They need high moisture, so they commonly come into basements, places like that. Reducing moisture. Running a dehumidifier in the basement, whatever, and then also looking, for any sort of maybe landscaping around that might be contributing to them. So you have, sort of a buildup of mulch or decaying plant matter around the foundation that might sort of be providing an avenue for those to come inside. So reducing that sort of thing, any moisture issues, that can help prevent them from coming inside, but nothing, don't spray them. There's nothing you need to do, just vacuum them up.
excellent. All right, Jeff, one picture on this one.
Okay.
This is a viewer who wants to know how to control sandburs before they do this.
Okay. Well, I think that your best choice would be to contact your local ag chemical supplier. There's one product that we actually use in some of our warm season grasses called Plateau. It's a Mazapic. And I don't know if there's any other products that have that chemical in it. That's the only one I'm familiar with. So that's fairly effective, and it's labeled for sandburs. So I would, talk to someone that's selling that product, have them look at the label with you, and kind of go over how you would apply that product properly. So that would be, I think, the first choice. The second choice would be to use a liquid pendimethalin, same sort of equipment to apply that. The one we use is Prowl, and that's also very effective for this kind of problem.
All right, excellent. Two pictures on the next one. This is a Lincoln viewer trying to establish a native grass pollinator area. It's his first year. He's got this coming up. He wonders, is this a keeper or a weed?
Well, it's pretty. It's a weed, but and that's one that kind of like the blue. This is wild mustard. The other one was the blue mustard. So same kind of issue. They produce a whole bunch of seed. So you're going to want to remove that as soon as the flowering is done, as soon as you get done enjoying that. And then look at maybe a fall pre-emergent, something like that, to control that in areas where you're seeing a problem with that.
All right, excellent. And one picture on the next one, Jeff. This comes to us from Watson, Missouri. She's used soil and ashes from a fire that was brush and logs to fill in tire tracks in her yard. She's wondering, can she then seed it with fescue?
Well, I would want to disperse the ash really well. It's going to raise your pH considerably, and I don't know what the pH is there, but that may be a problem with germination and just the thriftiness of the fescue. So, I'm not worried about using a little bit of ash, but you want to make sure it's really well distributed.
Right, rake it in or do something.
Right.
Okay, good. All right, Kyle, you have two pictures on this next one. So Google says this is a morel. They recently started growing in the yard. Is it, or is it the nasty cousin? So I think we have another picture here.
Yeah, this is a morel mushroom, and the fact that they just came up in your yard, somebody really likes you.
Right.
And you may have people wandering in as well.
We're going to give your address on air.
Cars will be parked out in your drive by morning.
But yeah, this is the time of year when we are seeing morels are active. We're seeing a lot of small ones kind of across the state. It's not the false morel. The way you can tell them apart is when you cut them open. True morels are hollow on the inside like we had on that second picture, whereas false morels have a bunch of kind of cobwebby, cottony type fiber in the middle.
Excellent. All right. 2 pics on the next one. This viewer saw this on eastern red cedar out in Cozad. Is the orange glob something different than the cedar apple rust spiky thing?
Yes, yeah, it is very closely related, but different. And so this is actually one of the spiky balls of cedar quince rust or cedar hawthorn rust. And here we have our more typical, at least in the eastern part of the state, of the cedar apple rust. Both of them are gymnosporangium rusts. By the time we start to see leaf spots on our rosaceous plants, it's too late. Honestly, the fact that once they drop their flowers, it's too late to control those anyway. So we will start, and it's not uncommon to see those about the same time as morels as well.
All right, excellent. Dennis, you have a series here of holes in the ground. The first is an Omaha viewer. Hole's been here for a few years, bigger every year. What do you think might be doing this?
Yeah, that looks like it could be a Franklin ground squirrel. There's a little bit of dirt around it. There's no path between it. And so I would say a ground squirrel. With them, they're kind of far and few between, the Franklin ground squirrel. Just get some pea gravel and pack it in there and then put some dirt on it and try to grow grass over it.
All right.
You'll discourage it enough.
2 pictures on the next one. This comes to us from Talmadge. The holes are baseball to softball size, not very deep, and there aren't any tunnels.
Yeah, baseball, softball, in that area there is a number of ground squirrels, and like pack rats wouldn't do that, but other rodents, rat-sized rodents, that can do that. I'm trying to think of the common name. I can only think of the scientific name. Again, you can try to live trap them or discourage them by packing gravel down in those burrows and they'll stop.
Okay, and 2 more. This is Elm Creek along Turkey Creek. 7 to 10 of these holes, 3 to 4 inches across. They've never seen anything like this. Yeah. What is this?
Those are definitely a ground squirrel, probably a Franklin or one of the, not a 13 line. 13 line make more cleaner holes. The Franklins, we've seen more and more of the Franklins across the state.
All right, and 1 more, and this is Fremont. This hole was in his fenced-in backyard, narrow patch of grass. What's this one?
I would say the same thing. It's one of those bigger ground squirrels because you have the dirt on the outside. It's been pushed. It's too small for a fox or a ground hog, so it's definitely one of the other grounds.
All right, good year for the diggers.
Yeah.
Well, will it be warm enough for you to get those plants hardened off like we said you needed to, and into the ground? Pretty sure it matters where you live in Nebraska. Let's take a minute to hear from Gannon Rush from UNL's High Plains Regional Climate Center about what to expect next week.
Thanks, Kim. We have a relatively calm week ahead of us. Friday will be the coldest day of the week for many, with highs in the 60s. This weekend will be absolutely phenomenal with highs in the 70s statewide. By all means, get outside and enjoy the nice weather this weekend. This will carry over into next week, but some places west of Kearney will be in the 60s on Tuesday and Wednesday. We're not expecting the greatest amounts of rain this week, but every little bit helps. Storms are ongoing across the state and will likely continue into Friday afternoon. This weekend will be relatively dry, but chances of rain increase as we head into next week. Storms are possible on Tuesday and Wednesday, particularly in the western part of the state. And that's your weekly weather forecast. Back to you, Kim.
Thanks, Gannon. We do need to take a short break. We hope you'll stay with us. Coming up after the break, we have the plants of the week and the lightning round. Keep it here and we'll get back to your questions on Backyard Farmer. Right now, it is time for the lightning round. Okay, Dennis,
Yes.
Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
This is an Auburn viewer who wonders whether rabbits would cleanly strip the bark up 24 inches and almost all the way around a tree, or would it be a deer?
A deer is usually higher, not up from the ground, but rabbits usually don't strip it that much. So maybe voles or something like that. I don't know. I would have to see it to see the teeth marks.
Okay. This viewer has squirrels getting under the hood of her car and making nests. Is there a way to keep them out?
No, not really.
Just replace the wiring
That's
harness.
my answer.
This is a viewer who lives north of Valley and said she was gardening and here came a skink. Are they good or bad?
Skinks are great. They eat insects.
All right. And her second question is, are they solitary or should she expect...
No, they're not solitary, but they do have young.
All right.
They lay eggs.
Okay. This is a viewer who wonders, is there a way to deter woodpeckers from pecking the house?
Yes, use a balloon with yellow and red colors.
All right. A 20-inch hole, is that a fox or a woodchuck?
Woodchuck. It depends if it's oblong or round and how it's shaped.
In other words, it depends.
Right.
Okay. All right, Kyle, are you ready?
Born ready.
Okie dokers. This is a viewer who does want to treat for rust. They're not saying exactly rust on what, but whether a powder or a spray fungicide works the best.
Typically, your liquid formulations will work better, but depending on what you're trying to control it on, you probably don't need to spray anything on it.
All right. We have a viewer who says, is there an early disease of peaches that would cause the leaves to be blackened on the edges and then curl?
Yeah, one is herbicide injury, another is cold temperatures. A lot of environmental things can do that.
All right. We have yet again a lightning round question about a tree foaming at the base. Mm-hmm. What causes that?
It's basically buildup of gunk on the inside, buildup of yeast, things like that. Eventually they bubble out.
All right. This is an Emerson viewer who bought Dutch elm disease resistant elms, Triumph. Can plant the seeds apparently, but they're wondering, will the resulting trees also be disease resistant?
I think they will be, but they may not be as resistant. It's more of a tolerance issue, not 100% resistance.
Excellent. All right. Okay, Jeff.
Okay.
Okay. This is an Omaha viewer who actually wants to eradicate the little snowdrops anemones because they have spread beyond their border into the turf. Mm-hmm. How do you do that?
I would just keep mowing. They'll probably have to dig up the little bulbs is what they're going to have to do.
Okay. All right. We have a viewer from Omaha who has poison ivy, a couple plants that have started next to other desirables, peonies, et cetera, the perennials. How does she get rid of that and not the good stuff?
There's some products labeled poison ivy killers, and I would paint those on.
All right. We have a viewer who wonders whether dandelions will bloom again when they're deadheaded, and we don't know whether she wants them to or she doesn't.
I think they will. Yeah, they'll just keep going. They're having a great year this year.
Okay. We have a viewer who wonders how to control violets in a peony and sedum bed without harming the peonies and the sedums.
You're going to have to either, again, paint herbicides on or dig them up by hand.
All right. Compressed straw, is it necessary to cover new seeding?
It's really helpful for new seedings, yes. Right. You'll have much more success.
All right. Excellent. Okay. Other Kyle, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. We have a viewer who has asked whether sawflies are active in the ash trees now.
Should be starting right about now.
All right. Her second question is, do they actually go into the soil as one of their life phases?
Yeah, after they finish feeding on the tree, they will go down in the soil to pupate.
All right. This is an Omaha viewer who apparently has aphids in their daylilies, has had that for a couple years, and they're wondering whether there is anything they can pre-treat now to stop an aphid population.
No, just you have to just deal with it as they emerge.
All right. A viewer has a pond and said they saw dragonflies by the pond already. Is that early, unusual?
No, not necessarily. There's some that will be active quite early.
All right. We have another viewer, we don't know where this one is from, who says there are swarms of little tiny white insects either swarming or floating around in the yard. Ideas on what those might be?
I don't know. I'm seeing a lot of midges around my yard, but
okay.
I don't know.
Might be midgy.
Maybe.
All right. Dennis is the winner, especially since he brought that big snake. Well, it is still going to be a couple of weeks before we get our garden in the ground, but there are a few early season greens popping up, and they are ready for harvest. Here's Terri at the Backyard Farmer Garden to tell us more.
This week in the Backyard Farmer Garden, we are again still in the greenhouse and a little bit outside, but we are seeing a lot of progress on our spring garden. Lots of the lettuce is already ready to start picking, so we're going to start doing that this week. So we're looking forward to those great fresh lettuce salads, and our little peas and radishes and stuff are coming up, and we're just excited for them to get bigger so we can start picking those out of the garden. We're about 2 weeks out from getting our plants hardening off and getting them out in the ground. So depending on where you're at and what the weather is, make sure when you're buying them at the local nursery, you're actually kind of taking care of them and getting them ready. Remember, they have been in the greenhouse this whole time, so a little too much sun, a little too much wind might damage them a little bit. So keep them a little more protected as you harden them off, moving them outdoors into your garden. So stop by the Backyard Farmer Garden and check it out.
You know, it's so fun to be able to go back into that garden every single week to check out the progress. And it won't be long before everything else will be greening up. But now it is time for Jeff to talk about beautiful plants of the week.
Yeah, so you brought us two kind of woodland plants, which is fun. So, and since we've just had a little bit of rain, did you feel you were in a woodland mood?
I was in a woodland mood.
Okay.
Yes.
So we have mayapple, which is a really cool plant, and it's not one that you will see in Nebraska. And you were just talking about how these are from your yard, and they've been there for 30 years, which is really unusual.
Especially in my yard.
Yeah, so this is, well, yeah, right, with your dogs and everything else. So they like a woodland soil, a moist soil, a little bit of shade. You see the lovely flowers, and they produce a fruit and a seed. So it's a very cool plant. Unusual for us to have something like that around here. And again, what's even better about it is completely poisonous, so you don't want to eat that. So
good to know.
Yeah. Our other plant is a personal favorite of mine. So this is yellow archangel. And so this is also a great ground cover. I talked about the lily of the valley earlier. So this is a great plant to have. It's, and I think kind of a friendly one too. It'll, if you mow it a little bit, it kind of goes back in its place. If it's a little too sunny, it goes back in its place. So it's well behaved. It flowers great. Bumblebees are all over mine right now. So it's a great plant for that. So two fun plants.
Exactly, and kind of a fun, again, woodland combination.
Yeah, right.
So excellent. Well, you know, we love to give you announcements of wonderful things going on in the gardening world. So let's go ahead and give you the first one here, Holy Trinity Arts Festival, Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Church of the Holy Trinity on A Street here in Lincoln. Lots of really cool stuff going on that one. Our second one is the UNL Horticulture Club Spring Bedding Plant Sale is still going on. Friday 9 to 4 and Saturday if there's anything left in the East Campus teaching greenhouses. Our third one is a Garden Club of Omaha annual plant sale, Friday 3 to 7, Saturday 8 to 12, Keystone Event Center in Omaha. Another one, the May Museum perennial plant sale, Saturday from 9 to 12 in Fremont. And the Backyard Poultry Workshop, which is Nebraska Extension, Friday in Kearney and Saturday in North Platte. So lots of fun things to do for the weekend. All right, questions again. Let's see, Kyle, you have one picture on this one. This is a Lincoln viewer. She found grubs in her vegetable garden, raised beds, and she does all organic. She's picked out all she can find. She did treat her grass with grub control, but how can she free the garden with these, from these? Do what she's done?
Yeah, pretty much. I would just continue to pick them. Yeah, they might just be like green June beetles. They do like sort of really rich organic soil. Usually they're not a problem. They can occasionally damage vegetables, but yeah, I'd just keep picking them.
All right. One picture on this one. This is also a Lincoln viewer. What is, and you can just barely see that little white thing in there, I think. Found in a mulch pile in the garden, covered them back up. Are they termites? They're not near buildings, but there are wood frame buildings on the property.
Yeah, it is a termite. So I wouldn't be overly concerned in this situation. It's, if it's not around a structure or anything, they're just out there in the environment doing what they do. But definitely something to keep an eye on. Make sure that you don't have any moisture issues around the house. No sort of wood contact with the soil right around the foundation of the house, anything like that. Can make sure soil is draining or water is draining away from the foundation, etc. So I would just keep monitoring for that, any signs of termites around the house. And then if you want, you could maybe have a professional come out and do an inspection and sort of get an appraisal to make sure that there's nothing going on in the house and see if they have any recommendations.
Okay, the next one is a head scratcher. 2 of these little nest-type structures, corner of the roof and the wall. Do we have any idea what these are?
I have no idea. I also talked to Jody. We're stumped on this one. So need more pictures and maybe a little bit more better description on this.
Or send a sample to the Plant and Pest Diagnostic Clinic. We have no idea what this is. It's interesting.
All right. 1 pick for this one, Jeff. This is Creeping Charlie taking over an area under a tree that they've planted to Ajuga. Mm-hmm. They're wondering how they can get Charlie out without killing Ajuga.
Well, I've given this answer a couple times. The short answer is no, you can't. Mm-hmm. You're going to kill everything if you try to overspray it. You could go through and a lot of times dentists will tell us to harass an animal that's causing us problems. You could go in and harass the Creeping Charlie a little bit, pick at it, pull at it, brush on some herbicide on it that's labeled for it. That would probably be my first choice.
All right, second one is also one they're trying to get rid of. This is plumbago. That's creeping into the grass. How can they get rid of this one?
I would use glyphosate on this one.
All right. Third one comes to us from Lindsborg, Kansas. Clover between the sidewalk and the house, but then we have a weed that came up in it, and we think this is Houtinia.
Yeah, I agree. And so this is a difficult one to kill. This is one you're going to want to cut and then paint, kind of like you would a stump on a tree. Mm-hmm. It's rhizomatous, so it makes it a challenge.
All right, and one more. This is Omaha, big areas of vinca, and if he fertilizes the lawn, the vinca grows too. Triclopyr didn't work. Any ideas?
What I would look at with this is going to your local nursery and picking up an oil additive for the triclopyr to mix that in there. That will help the plant, the vinca absorb that a little bit better, and you might have more success with that.
All right. Kyle, 3 picks on this one. This is a tree that is apparently it's a maple. And you can see the big tree here, and then the second picture, I think, is the trunk, and the third one is a small branch that fell off the trunk.
Yeah, there's a few things that are going on with this tree. Start the pretty large wound on the trunk, most likely sun scald. I'd be very curious which direction that wound is facing, but it looks very similar to a sun scald winter burn type injury. Also, with the rocks around it being piled up, probably not ideal. It's kind of in that hell strip as well between the sidewalk and the sidewalk and the street. It may have been planted a little bit too deep as well. So I'm not surprised that there are individual branches that are dying on it. I don't know for sure what is causing those individual branches to die, aside from just a lot of compounding stresses. So keep an eye on this tree. It has a lot working against it.
All right, 2 picks on the next one. This one came in and he thought it was a fungus, and our extension educator thought it was the knees on a bald cypress.
I am agreeing with the educator on this one. It looks like the knees on a bald cypress of fairly woody material. There is some fungal growth on it, but really nothing to worry about. Just one of those cool things that just pops up.
All right, and this next one, 2 picks, it's a paper birch, long orange streak from a pruning wound, and now the orange and black knobby stuff is on one of the branches and appears to be spreading. What can be done?
Nothing.
Okay.
Unfortunately, this is same as the question I had during the lightning round about bubbly stuff at the base of trunks. This is bacterial wetwood, also known as slime flux. It's just a buildup of different bacteria and yeast inside of it. And it often, when there is a wound, especially a large pruning wound, that bacteria will just start to ooze out. It's going to kill other plants that it lands on, but it typically is not going to kill the tree.
All right. Dennis, one picture, western Otoe County, but this was out of Mound City, Missouri.
Okay.
What's this guy?
It's a black rat snake, otherwise known as a western rat snake. In Missouri, they call it a chicken snake. It's Pantherophis ellipsia. It's
A good
it
guy.
climbs trees and eats birds and bird eggs, so it's a good guy.
Okay, Columbus, 2 pictures on this one. Holes along or one picture, I guess. Holes along a sidewalk, trail bordered by corn. What made them? And
Well, the way it's just fan-shaped, usually that'd be plugged. It looks like a pocket gopher that the hole has fallen through. The way it's fan-shaped, it's very typical of a plains pocket gopher,
okay,
especially in that sandy area.
all right.
That's what it looked like.
Skylar, one picture, creatures created.
That's the same thing.
Same thing. And
Yeah.
anything they can.
Yeah, Skylar and Columbus, they're near each other.
Yeah, anything they can do.
Yeah, there's a lot of methods. There's the Maccabee's trap methods that you can put down the hole. There's also a toxicant that you could use if this area doesn't be grazed or anything like that. So you can go to your local farm store and ask for pocket gopher bait.
Okay, and 2 pictures on the next one. This is Sak City, Iowa. Little holes in the vegetable garden. Should she be worried?
Well, I'm looking at this and I kind of blew them up, and there's another one, and it looks like worm castings being eaten by a bird. So there's worms and the bird is just eating them like crazy.
Yeah, no big deal. Alrighty. Well, good gardening takes patience, good practices, and a little work now and then. As our spring flowering shrubs begin to shed their blossoms, it's time to sharpen up the pruners, make some cuts. Let's take a minute to see how you can help your shrubs remain vibrant and keep them from getting out of control. We like to tell you the right time to prune your flowering shrubs. If they flower on old wood, that is the time to prune them right after they flower or within a month after flowering. Quince is one example. There are a couple of spireas on the list that actually do bloom on old wood and they're finished. And then we have Nanking cherry, which is another one. You can really prune back hard if you want to. If a shrub has gotten way out of control, take it way back, again knowing that it's going to produce its flowers on old wood for the following year. And again, the time to do that pruning is within a month after flowering. You will not remove the flower buds for next year because they set their flowers on old wood. Dwarf garland spirea is one of the ones that flowers on old wood. It's really obvious to see on this colony of dwarf garland spirea where the old flowers were and where the new growth is. So it's time to prune if you want to prune this one. There are situations where you might want your shrubs to have more of an architectural form to them. Sometimes we call it green meatballs, but in this case, the forsythia to my right has been pruned beautifully over the years into more rounded shape. The forsythia on my left obviously needs a really good haircut. And this is a great example of what happens if you do decide you do want to prune nicely, or you absolutely don't have time, you don't understand when to prune. This is what can happen. So this one is going to get a pretty significant haircut. It is a forsythia, it blooms on old wood. The other one, of course, is lilacs. They're still flowering. You've got a month, then you prune because they will set their flower buds for next year's flowers. Precision snips, those shrubs are going to maintain the shape you want, continue to give those flowers for years and years to come. All right, questions. You have one picture on this one, Kyle. This is a Lincoln viewer. Too late to add it last year, but he found a bumblebee last fall coated with, they thought it was pollen, and trying to get it off, and later saw it dead on the deck.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what this is. I wondered about
bee.
Yeah, I wondered about mites, but it's not mites on there. Sometimes that can happen, so I'm not sure.
Well, you can get some entomopathic fungi as well that will colonize the bee, and then as they start to build up inside, they just kind of erupt out. Basically, it's a Last of Us scenario.
Oh, brother.
See that on flies quite a bit.
Okay, one picture on the next one, Kyle. This, she has 2 English oaks in the yard. One has holes all around the trunk. Is it an insect? Was it a bird after insects?
Neither. No, it's a bird, so it's a sap sucker. So it's not going after insects, just drinking the sap from the tree. So Dennis can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think they, in just sort of small amount of damage like this, causes much harm. So
No, not too much.
Right.
But again, you can use little flashy things there that deter them.
All right, excellent. Let's see, you have 2 pictures on this one, Jeff. This is a papillion viewer. Has wild clematis, which is probably the sweet autumn fall one. And it's taken over the backyard. She's wondering, are there any suggestions on how to eradicate it or control it, one or the other?
Well, unfortunately, the best way is just to pull it, and it's easily pulled. If it's in a place that it's gotten too well established, again, you can cut it back and treat the stump, but that's probably the simplest way. You could try doing a fall pre-emerge in those garden areas, and that may help with that a little bit.
All right, 2 pictures on the next one. This is Plattsmouth. She's wondering how to get rid of these raspberries. She's calling them the devil here, and there's the patch. And how do you kill them?
Some people would say they're very fortunate that they have a raspberry patch. So if they want to keep the raspberries, they need to cut the canes back and kind of clean up the grass. But if they want to get rid of the raspberries, I would suggest maybe just mowing that and kind of sticking with that, and that'll eventually weaken them and they'll fade away.
All right, excellent. All right, let's see. You have 2 pictures on the first one, Kyle. This is a Nahaka, Nebraska viewer. Moved a couple of years. They've never had evergreens before. They wonder what they are, and we've told them a white pine and a spruce. But the white pine in the second picture has brown tips on the needles. Is this something to treat, or is this winter?
I wouldn't worry about it. It looks just like drought winter injury to me.
All right, and then you have 1 picture on the next one. The question is, are these dangerous? There are many, many clusters of these on the ground where a honey locust got cut down, and when will they disappear?
They will. So first, are they dangerous? No, not really. If your dog would eat all of them, your dog might throw up. Well, your dog will throw up, but we'll survive it. So, but these are inky cap mushrooms. Very typical. They're feeding on that decaying woody tissue. As far as when will they go away, they will go away when that woody tissue that they are feeding on goes away. So, 15, 20 years, you should be free.
All right. Dennis, you have 2 pictures on this one. This is a viewer from Deschler who found this nest in the tree all winter, and then it fell to the ground. What might have built it?
That's last year's nest of an oriole.
Excellent. Beautiful, beautiful. All right, and 1 picture for the last one of the evening. This is Palmer, Nebraska. She put down newspapers and mulch this spring on the north side of the garage. Something was ripping up the newspaper and mulch, and now has this. What is it, and how do you...
Deer mouse nest. It was probably under something, under the mulch or something. It looks like just probably a deer mouse, like field mouse.
So that is not the one that's the bad mouse hantavirus.
None of them are bad. Yeah, they do carry hanta. Well, I can't say they. It's very, very rare in Nebraska. When we did a survey, there was only 2 counties that came out positive, and there was only 1 out of everything found. Just don't sniff their droppings, and you'll be fine.
How can we avoid that?
No, don't sleep next to them. I mean, they're outside; they'll be fine. Yeah.
In other words, if you're going tent camping in the backyard.
Yeah, if you're going tent camping, make sure there's no droppings there.
All right. Yeah. And is this the time of year when those mice they're not trying to come in now?
No, these deer mouse or whitefoot mouse, the field mice, they rather stay away. They will get into vehicles.
Yeah.
They will get into cars and things like that.
All right.
So you want to, put oil or something around the tires so they don't climb up or something.
All right. And we have 1 more real quick, and this is Carney. Is this probably a mole?
Yes, it's hard to tell, but it's more a mole than a gopher or a vole.
All right. So the whole mole go thing.
Yeah, mole. M.
M, not V. All
Not
right.
V.
And with that, we have run out of time for this week's Backyard Farmer. We do want to say thanks to everybody who submitted questions this week and to our panel for another great show. Helping us on the phone this evening, we had John Cariato and Nebraska Extension educator Terri James. Next time on Backyard Farmer, we'll be hearing from Kyle about a disease that has crept into our lilac stand here on campus. Ash yellows causes unusual leaf growth and witch's brooms, and Kyle will tell us what we can do about it. Don't forget to stop by the Backyard Farmer website at byf.unl.edu. Sign up for our monthly newsletter. So good night, good gardening. We'll see you all next week right here on Backyard Farmer.